Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to switch up the pace a little bit, and we're going to go back to the roots of this channel. I say that as if this channel is not like 2 days old. But we're going to do another island tour. Got the poll that I posted 10 days ago up on my screen right now. And you guys voted for this. You guys said you wanted to see Bleak Beach before the Withered Wastelands. So that's what you're going to get. In all fairness, I did actually try to do this on the first stream. But I realized, the video quality was absolutely terrible. I don't know if it's possible for me to hit record while I'm streaming yet. I'm going to try that the next time I stream, but note to self, if I ever want to produce a video, or rather record a video while I'm streaming, I should record it instead of relying on the VOD, because the VOD will never be that great in terms of quality. So, just like we did for Rocky Ridges, I am absolutely not going to prepare anything at all. I have no notes. I'm just going to take you through it, and yeah, because that worked so well last time. But this time we actually have decent audio. Some context on my Bleak Beach, and I guess the video. I'm just going to take you through things and talk about them as we go, talk about changes I want to make, etc. as we go. I will say Bleak Beach specifically is probably the least finished of all my areas. I'd probably say it's more finished than Skylands right now, technically speaking, but it is still very much unfinished. There's like a whole half of the Bleak Beach I haven't touched. But I knew early on what I wanted to achieve with Bleak Beach was a place for markets. I happen to have been inspired by this one picture posted on the really early days of Pokopia, where it was just, three, or I think it was four. It was a couple, really simple houses that were, themed with markets. I've seen like 1 million people steal it, and I also stole it, but it inspired me to continue building up Bleak Beach. So, without any further ado, why don't we just jump into it? So why don't we step outside? I promise you I will talk about where the heck we are right now, but, before I give you that context, I did essentially build my prefab home inside of this, like, little monument thing. We'll go up there in a second, but, because I live with Pikachu, I thought it only made sense to move the charging station right over here with a nice supply of items to feed the power source. This is an area you're not really going to have any conception of where it is. I think the best way for me to show you where this is to start by taking the elevator. If I look out the window, you might have an idea. Probably not, but let's go down the elevator. And then we'll pan out and actually show you where the heck I am. It's quite a long elevator ride down, but the view we will see, I think, is well worth it. Okay. So let's just step off, and just to give you a little bit of framing, that's the island that's kind of tucked away behind Bleak Beach, and I haven't touched it or the SS Ain at all, really. But if you know anything about Bleak Beach, you might have a glimmer of where we are. If you guessed the Lighthouse, you guessed correctly, but wait, I can't see the top. Let's zoom out. So as I'm zooming out here, I decided the Lighthouse was not complete on its own, and I wanted to tremendously expand it. One thing led to another, and I ended up with a massive lighthouse. Yes, that is a Pikachu tail on the very top. You guys, if you've been watching any of my videos or streams, you'll definitely, again, notice a pattern where I tend to build my house on the absolute highest levels of the map. This is no different. And again, like I said, I have not touched the SS Ain, so we're not going to go into it at all today. Still don't really know what I want to do with it. But let's talk about, what's up here a little bit. Typically in Bleak Beach, what I do is I come up here, this lovely structure, where I've got this kind of walkway from the bottom area up to this Pikachu fountain, which is quite fitting. And I did want to make those windows originally a Pokeball. Right now it's kind of like a half Pokeball, but I'll probably honestly keep them as they are right now. But if you come and stare over the edge, you get a real sense for kind of what's in here. And as I was saying, the first thing I really do when I get here is I jump off from that way, which we will do in a moment. But if we want to just pan, that is the power plant. We'll talk about that very soon. That is where the gate is. And if you've seen my Skylands video, I mentioned, I think I showed you guys, but The gate condo I have in the Skylands is modeled after the same aesthetic as this one over here. And also, we've got a hyper massive luxury condo that we'll also check out, as well as a couple hidden things. So there's quite a lot in my Bleak Beach. Again, I would say it's like definitely the least finished area. But we'll take a quick look through and I'll try my best to explain as we go. Let's start with the power plant because it's right there and I will probably not talk about it otherwise. So there's not too much to say about it. All I can really tell you is I did kind of carve out a rough area over here. I originally kind of wanted to house it here, but I just couldn't fit it without doing a massive amount of terraforming that I didn't want to do. So I carved out a smaller area and put it here. Right now it's relatively inaccessible and I haven't touched the inside. But what I want to point out here is, you know, if you're familiar with kind of the hidden tunnel / cave system in Bleak Beach, in theory this connects to that from obviously there and here. And if we come over to this side of it, I do have a zip line that takes you to that kind of smaller apartment isolated area here. Very much not happy with that area, but we'll go back to it in a moment. Okay, so if we look at things from this side of the lighthouse, I'm happy I'm doing this earlier in the day so you get to see the sunshine. Very rare sight for me in this game. But you'll notice kind of this pocket area. So this is that area you kind of accidentally discover where there's like the semblance of a garden. I've kind of converted mine into, you know, we'll talk about the markets up there in a moment, but I've kind of converted mine into an extension of my resource generation stuff that is typically housed in the wastelands. Let's get the sparkling ripple. Always get the sparkling ripple. But you'll see I've kind of, you know, just labeled down a bunch of these prefab homes. And my idea here is I wanted to put Pokemon that generate vines. So you've got Bellsprout and Weepinbell. Eventually I'll put all of the Snivy line here too because they also generate vines. And I also wanted to put Pokemon that generate fluff. So you'll have Swablu. Eventually Altoria will live here. And then you've got Flaffy and Mareep here as well. A couple of gatherers kind of hidden away here, right? We've got the Duskull that lives here, and we've got Dusclops and Dusknor that live here. And I also kind of hid away a couple of what are going to be market buildings eventually. They were set up a while ago, but I took them down because they weren't working the way I wanted to, so I've just kind of stripped them out for now. But this will be like a little store, just like this one will be a store. And I've housed Victory Bell and Ampharos here. I think Ampharos has trade. Let's check that. Yeah, so Ampharos does have trade, which is why I've kind of housed him here. I figured it might make sense for the markets. Am I crazy, or does Dusclops and Dusknor also have trade? So a Dusclops does have trade. So the idea is, you know, they're kind of doing their jobs here. Ampharos, I suppose, is watching over Mareep and Flaffy, and then they'll be able to access these kind of two trade areas here. Besides that, there is a way to get up to the top there, but I don't want to take you to the top just yet. We're going to go this way, and I'm going to show you one of my favorite views in the Bleak Beach. But before that, show you this quickly. So this just takes you out to the gate, the route, whatever you'd like to call it, that you first kind of enter through. Honestly, I haven't done a lot here. I think I cleaned it up very, very, very minimally. So that's what kind of this area is. I will touch it up later. But I also carved out a nice-ish kind of path to those underground kind of tunnels I was talking about that I think do lead to the power plant. But if we want to head back this way, if we go straight ahead now, you're going to walk in through my favorite view of Bleak Beach so far, where I've got the Pokemart in front of us, this lovely little array of market houses, and you can see the giant condo off in the distance, which we will definitely get to. I'll show you around back here, because it's not that special. I've basically just kind of put a backside to the cafes area here with a little mini garden, in case I need to grab some veggies in a pinch. But if we come back around here, as typical for all of my Pokemarts, I've got a mini storage solution that's designed for me to place blocks inside of it that I just have gathered through terraforming. And then, of course, the Pokemart itself. Speaking of those markets that I stole, here they are right here. So this was a very popular build. Many people have copied since me. They look excellent. I do want to build a few more in a similar aesthetic, but I wanted to, before that, just experiment with those up there. So we'll go there in a moment. I'm not happy with these at all yet. They were super experimental. But again, like the whole guise of my Bleak Beach is to try to generate as many markets as possible and house as many trade Pokemon as possible. But I really love the aesthetic of these, kind of compiled with you walking out, being able to see the lighthouse and the massive condo. There is a couple other things that I'll just sneak preview. So there is a lovely little quick access point that goes directly to a storage system I will show you later. You can actually fly straight to it as you jump off from the lighthouse. Another small thing I'll just show you here. Eventually, I will convert this into a little cafe. This is just part of Bleak Beach. I didn't touch it at all. And so Mosslax is actually down here. I also have not moved him. I probably won't. I do kind of like this spot, but I want to restore it a little bit. If we progress up the stairs, you get a small glimmer into these other homes I kind of created. So I was experimenting with the roof, the tent roofs a lot here, and I'm super unhappy with these, so I will have to fix that a lot. I don't know if I like the combination of colors here either. This one I really like the exterior for, but I fear I haven't like properly decorated the insides. Again, just a simple market setup. This one I really like, but it's more of a home than it is a market, I will say. Where, again, kind of the market is on the side here. But we are very much not happy with this. Why are you here, buddy? This is not your home. If anything, I might just use this as a strict house so that the market Pokemon can walk over here or down there, or to the markets over there. I just have to better prepare some paths. And by the way, we definitely need to put lights in the lighthouse, but I ran into build limits pretty much in every facet at the Bleak Beach, so the reason why this is the most unfinished is because I got a little annoyed that I couldn't do things the way I wanted to. So whenever I do come back here, I will have to spend tremendous efforts on minimizing some of the things I've set up so that I can actually build cool things. But definitely learned my lesson in building some of the stuff here on how to, minimize and not put power into places until you need it. Let's go back this way. Now that you have a sense of kind of the main area we just passed through, again, the SS Ain side hasn't really been touched, nor has anything in that general direction. Really, all of my building has been this area and the luxury hotel area. I'll show you some things on the surface that are a little less impressive before we look at some insanity. First of all, I haven't touched this area too much. A little bit of cleaning up around this area. I think there was more structuring here before, but I took it down. I am planning on building some things that are useful for me personally here, so like resource generation. I want to extend the restaurant out pretty dramatically. I just don't have a clear vision on what that looks like yet. And I really haven't figured out what to do here. You see I started putting a couple prefabs down, very much unfinished. I think what I'd like to do, which I kind of started over here, is turn them into villas. The issue with this is I just was generally pretty uninspired, so I didn't get too far. But this is going to turn into like a pretty interesting little villa over here that I house probably fire Pokemon in. Possibly work in like a second floor with a manually made home as well. This would kind of be like the staircase up. I don't really know. Like I said, I'm not really inspired yet to do this. But I'd like to kind of extend the same thing to these houses, if not just leave them as they are. I could probably house everyone in the apartments, in all fairness. But I would like to have the option of other kinds of houses. That way, if I need fire Pokemon to burn something for me when I'm here, it's easy just to pull them out of their individual homes. But kind of funny, a lot of people are really adamant about putting Mr. Mime in an absolute solitary confinement. I actually housed Mr. Mime underneath the ground here. And I will probably house a couple more baby Pokemon over time. I think I have 2 more slots that you can see. But I'm really happy with this simple park. Really, this kind of came out of Pikachu's quest, where he started asking you to bring Pokemon like Pichu. You'll see Pichu's habitat right here. Toxel, you'll see Toxel's habitat right here. And even Dedenne, I've kind of turned their homes into a combined little park area that I'm pretty happy with. Oh, did I make you follow me? Sorry, buddy. So the idea is, though, that Mr. Mime kind of watches the baby Pokemon. Comment if you absolutely hate that. Mr. Mime takes great care of Asher's mom. We should be nicer to him. Anyways, that's kind of all the stuff on the overworld. I guess there's this, too. So the version of this that I built in the Skylands is far more impressive. This was one that I was very much past build limits on when I made. So I kind of put it together fairly callously. It's really not impressive at all. And I don't even think I've housed anyone in here yet. I don't even think I built a staircase for this one. But it exists. That's the access to the power plant. And I was experimenting with painting. This was early on into when I was able to start painting. Because I just wanted to see kind of what I could do. And I do like how these look, but I hate the placement. So I'm going to do a lot more over here to just tidy this area up. But I had put it down just temporarily. A lot of people do connect this area straight to that side of the beach. I did initially, but you'll find there's actually another way to get up here that is channeled through the elevator. It does go down. I don't want to take you that way to show you, though. But I think this is a good point. We're not going to go down there to get there, but that also leads to a storage system. I will show you. So how many of you saw that somebody built an underground water pathway system, and how many of you were inspired to try to do your own? Personally, I super loved it. So when I decided to restore some of the bridges and these paths, you know, I actually took it a step further to make these two little pockets over here. And they both are identical on the exterior, but they happen to lead somewhere. So let's go ahead and go down. As you come down, you step into my own underground path system. So starting over here, this eventually will lead straight to the SSN. So I'm going to have to do a lot of work to, you know, get this to that point and then channel the water through. But that's kind of the vision here, is I want this to lead to the SSN. Whether or not there's a waterfall is debatable. I might kind of do something a bit more creative, but that's the vision here. I'm going to take you there later. If we go down this way, we definitely need like a Waylord or Whalmer dive ability in the DLC to make this easier. That just goes back up to the other side. If you were to continue going down this hallway and you went all the way down there, you'll see an elevator in the distance. That's how you get up to the other side there that I was showing you first. This way houses something else. There is another way into here. Like I was saying, there's a couple different ways into here. But this is the biggest storage system I have ever created. Way bigger than Bleak Beach in any, way bigger than the Wasteland in any other area. As I walk into it, you'll see just how massive it is. The idea with this is there was a couple items I was holding that eventually were just overcrowded in my Withered Wasteland storage. So I needed a place to also put them, and I didn't want to just throw them in random chests everywhere. So I figured I'd make a storage warehouse that will let me just drop off any of the items I think I'm accumulating in excess. Between you and me, I haven't really used this area yet. So jury's out if this is something I will ever actually end up moving my stuff into. But I have it, and so I never need to worry about storage ever. And if for some reason this ends up getting crowded, I can theoretically permanently extend infinitely that way. Not infinitely exactly, but very long way. And, you know, I can go left and right. Like, I can do a lot here to really make sure that I never run out of space. I've also put down a really terrible semi-manual berry farm. This is like the worst one I've built, and it doesn't even work properly. Things always get caught here because of how I built it. So I'm going to eventually redo this and just make it a lot better. But I think that means pushing out the walls or pushing everything back a bit. This won't actually be that hard to fix. Who knows? Maybe I'll even make it just like automatic like some of my others. Or semi-automatic. But it's just another source of a ton of berries if I ever need them. I just realized I literally have a berry farm in every area. Anyways, There's not much else to say here. I was housing Torkoal down here for a while, but I just moved him to Skylands because I needed a fire Pokemon that I thought was kind of on point for something I want to do there. Otherwise, I've got Electivire over here just so that I can process berries because I've got that over there. I do want to take you back down into the paths here, so we're going to go this way. So if you're looking at the picture, you might already kind of glean that this is going to lead us into a pool. Talk about that elevator, but if we just kind of push past it, you know, first there's a little power generating area over there. And, you know, a little shower area, right? You're in a swimming pool. You need some kind of a bath area to clean up after or before. I do happen to house Piplup and Prinplup here, eventually Empoleon. These technically count as 2 habitats too, so up to 6 Pokemon could sit in here. But if you come around the corner and ignore these stairs, you actually get to access the swimming pool itself. I'm pretty happy with it. I wouldn't say this is like the best pool ever made, but, you know, I kind of like it. This is meant to spawn Empoleon. I believe I have to move this somewhere else because it has to be raining. This whole pool, the idea for it came because I saw someone use a planet and made it look like a beach ball in water. And I loved it. So I made a whole pool because I saw a planet in the water. What kind of a pool would it be if there wasn't any hot tub? Or hot tubs? So in the back here, there's a mini little kind of hot tub that is technically Politoad's home, but I believe he will be getting moved out to the Skylands with Poliwrath. There you go, though. That's my swimming pool. So I told you I was going to take you into the lovely luxury condo. Let's go there now. Oh, you thought I was going to go outside? No, we're actually in the condo already. So that swimming pool is actually the basement of this massive condo. Just so you believe me, oh, here's the condo. So let's talk about the lobby a little bit. To build this, what I did is I just Googled a ton of like luxury hotels, and I modeled this after maybe like 17 different hotel lobbies. I'm really happy with it. I think it looks excellent. I really like this waterway entrance, to be honest with you. I absolutely love it. You'll find like spread throughout, there's a couple of little seating areas too that I think are quite nice and aesthetic. Obviously, we've decorated it with flowers and a couple of potted plants. You've got elevator access. You've got stair access. The very much, you know, unfinished back area is accessible. If you're wondering how I supplied power to it, there you go. One thing I really like about the lobby is this, really to me, it feels like you're about to check into a hotel. I think I really captured that feeling here with this. Okay, I'm going to take you upstairs, but I want to give you some context. So this condo, besides this floor, has a total of 6 floors plus a roof. Every 2 floors, the aesthetic of the living spaces changes. The layouts are all the same, kind of, so this will make sense in a moment. Let's go upstairs. So the context. So every floor has like one of these open communal areas. There's only one of 2 different styles. If you see this one with the windows, my idea is to turn this into a mini cafe or study area. I haven't done that yet. And the other type, if we go up one more floor, is this really open concept type of area. I'll probably just like at the most put up some plants on the walls, but I think I kind of like just keeping it opened. So every floor either has that open one or the soon-to-be cafe. This first floor, or second floor rather, also has a lovely view of this massive waterfall. Yes, you can take this waterfall up to the top. Some people like to see that, so I'm going to show you that you can actually just ride this all the way to the top. And while we're here, why don't I show you the top? So this is the roof. I did run out of power throughout the build, so I did have to build some windmills up here too to also supply power to the building. And this is a very large gazebo. I've kind of put the Clefairy line up here for now because I got a little lazy when I spawned them in. Zapdos and Raikou technically live here, but I will very much be moving them to the power plant eventually, in the distance over there as we checked it out. Besides that, you've got, you know, stairs over here, and behind this is the elevator access as well. So it's very easy to kind of traverse here. Again, a little pocket that you can use. But, you know, there's nothing really crazy to talk about up here, so I figured I would just show you now. Let's go back to exploring the interiors and looking at the units. As I was saying, every set of 2 floors, the aesthetic of these living spaces changes, but the layouts of the units themselves are the same relative to where they are in the building. So all the units on the left side share the same layout. All the units in the middle also share the same layout as each other. All the units on the far right also share the same layout as each other. All that changes is the aesthetic of the furniture and the walls. I'll also just get this out of the way too. I messed up when I built these, which I'm now able to rectify as I build going forward. But I made the units a little too big and a little awkward with the double doors. So technically speaking, the balcony is the unit. So that's what I typically decorate. But you'll find that there's enough area in each of these units where you could actually just decorate them a little bit to accommodate the Pokemon that live there. So why don't we do left, middle, right, so you get a sense of all the layouts. So here's the first layout. With any of my units, they always have a kitchen area. They always have a living room area. Look at that window view, by the way. They have a bathroom. You can't have a unit without a bathroom. And they also have a bedroom. Stepping out to the balcony, you'll kind of see what I'm getting at here with this is the home. I'll show you one that's actually populated. So just so you have an idea of like what it looks like for me to decorate this, this is technically where I believe Executor and Execute live. So I've just done a very simple amount of decorations, recognizing that behind me, they have a whole unit of stuff too. You'll see the walls are the same here, which means we do want to go up one more floor. But from here, you know, the aesthetic kind of immediately changes even in the hallways. So let's check out the middle one first. The layout here is, you know, bathroom, living room, kitchen, and of course bedroom. These ones tend to have 2 different beds here. I think Makuhita and Hariyama live here, so obviously I've appropriately decorated their balcony. And we take a look at the far right unit, we'll see the final layout. So this one, you actually start by entering into the kitchen. You got your bathroom over here. You come out here, the living room is kind of connected to the bedroom itself. These ones are kind of the more luxury units, hence the marble. But there you go, you know, there's a ton of Pokemon that can be housed in here. This was probably the most, like, massive and fancy apartment building I've made so far. I can see myself making one of these in Pallet Town, but I probably won't make them in any of the other areas at this point. I'm still super happy with how it turned out, but it was very time consuming. It took a lot of effort to just even conceive of in my head, trying to funnel power through it and everything. I don't think you really ever need to make apartments this big, but it was a really fun exercise, especially coming out of the very first one I ever tried to do in Withered Wastelands that I didn't populate. Seeing this one kind of fully furnished out was excellent, but it's also the reason why I've hit build limits pretty much everywhere in the beach. But there you go. That is my Bleak Beach. I do want to populate this entire area too, so I want to make kind of like a beach over here, a better path to the SS Ain, which also supports the underground path. I'm probably just going to slap far more prefab homes, or sorry, far more markets over here so that this side of the island is all markets. And then, you know, living spaces, you've got this massive apartment, the apartment over there, and whatever prefab homes I slap down over there. So having Pokemon live somewhere is not going to be a problem, and so I'm not really worried about making this entire side market focused, right? Ideally, for every market Pokemon that lives here, they all have at least one market that they can live inside of and operate out of. And there you go. That is my Bleak Beach. I hope you guys liked it. The next one you're going to see is Withered Wastelands. I do have an island tour that I recorded as well, where I was able to tour through someone else's island that I want to show you as well. Both of those videos will probably come out next week at this point. And if you didn't know already, I am starting to stream. You can kind of count on me streaming Sundays at 12 p.m. Eastern. That will be the one day I try to commit to. And then besides that, you know, I'm probably just going to stream randomly here and there whenever I feel like it. On top of that, I think whenever I get to the Withered Wastelands video, I'll kind of share a little bit more about what I'm thinking for the channel going forward. But, you know, I can see kind of in the future a couple videos every week and 1 or 2 live streams every week in the short term. With some cool things that will involve you guys. So if you're interested in that, you know, obviously keep watching. I am excited to show you my Withered Wastelands because that's kind of where everything that you're seeing, Skylands, Rocky Ridges, the beach, was instigated from me doing that there. I got super inspired to do the rest. But there you go. Let me know, you know, what your favorite part about my Bleak Beach is. Let me know if you guys have ideas of things I can add. Obviously, we've got a lot of extra space here. Please share your ideas about what to do with the SSN. I don't want to make a new ship. I just want to restore it in some way. But I don't know what that looks like yet. So absolutely open to ideas. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.